So, you think all wars happen because of land, power, or ideology? Hold on a sec. Back in 1859, two major countries, Britain and the United States, almost went to war over a pig. Yep, a pig. Just one pig. Not kidding. Let's break down this weird but true story, a tale of ego, borders, and pork. This story begins on a small island in the Pacific Northwest, San Juan Island. The island sits between the American mainland and Vancouver Island, which belonged to Britain. Now, after the War of 1812, both countries agreed to make a treaty about the border. But their maps were really bad. The result? It wasn't clear who actually owned San Juan Island. The British said, "It's ours." The Americans said, "Nope, it's part of Washington." And so began a quiet conflict. British settlers lived there. American farmers lived there too. They stared at each other, but no shots were fired yet. Then one morning, a pig showed up. A pig owned by a British settler, Charles Griffin, wandered into the potato patch of an American farmer named Lyman Cutler. It wasn't the first time. That pig loved messing up the potatoes. Lyman had had enough, and finally, bang! The pig was shot dead. Charles Griffin was furious. Lyman offered to pay for the pig, but Griffin felt insulted. And just like that, a personal problem turned into an international incident. The British settlers reported the incident to the colonial authorities. They threatened to arrest Lyman Cutler. America wasn't having it. You can't just arrest our citizen like that. So, the military got involved. Lieutenant George Pickett, who would later become a Civil War general, was sent to the island. He brought troops and declared, "Americans will stand on their own soil." The British responded by sending warships. Within a few weeks, 400 plus British soldiers, 500 plus American soldiers, cannons, ships, rifles, all gathered on a tiny island. Because of one pig. Strangely enough, even though they were fully armed, no one dared to make the first move, because a single bullet could spark a major war. In the end, the island became an absurd zone. Soldiers from both nations lived side by side, sometimes even trading food. But everyone stayed alert. You never know. What if someone accidentally pulled the trigger? The US president at the time, James Buchanan, knew this could get serious. He immediately sent a senior general, Winfield Scott, to negotiate. The British started thinking, are we really going to war with America over a pig? Eventually, an agreement was reached. Both sides could station up to 100 troops on the island, but they weren't allowed to interfere with each other. While waiting for a diplomatic resolution, things stayed peaceful for 12 years. It wasn't until 1871 the dispute was handed over to international arbitration. A judge from Germany, Kaiser Wilhelm I, was asked to decide, and he sided with America. San Juan Island officially became US territory. The British withdrew, the Americans applauded, and the pig, well, it stayed dead. But its legacy lives on in history. So, what's the moral of the story? Sometimes the smallest things can trigger a huge conflict if ego and communication aren't kept in check. But even in high tension, there's still room for common sense. And yeah, don't let your pig wander into someone else's garden.